why do you wanted to show this this story about this moment in Italy in the 20s?
Oh man, you know, we're doing a film about Padre Pio, and you know, when we do these, it was like we've done like 3 of them. You know, one was about Strauss-Kahn. This is the opposite of this thing. When we did Pasolini too, it's just more like Pasolini and Padre Pio. You know, for an American to come to Italy, you know, the Saigon. And we do the research, you know. So we just take it from the whole story. So with this film, the whole story became, you know, was a documentary. We did it like 5 years ago. And, you know, but you can't do the guy's life, you know. And, you know, you got to find the moment in the guy's life. So in the research, when Padre Pio first came to San Giovanni Rotondo is like the Wild West. You know, it's like Arizona, Tombstone, Arizona. You know, he comes from the countryside by Napoli. And do you have to translate all this?
No.
No, okay. Does everybody follow me? I mean, you want to hear all this? You want to hear this? Okay. And it was at this moment when the soldiers came back from the war, the first free election in Italy, and this incredible event happened, which, you know, is, I mean, all this is true. I mean, everything you're seeing, we didn't write any of this. This is all for real, bro, you know. And, you know, including, you know, we had his, you know, the great thing about Pio, he's a brilliant writer. His letters are magnificent. I mean, that's all his stuff, right? And he's going, but he's not a saint. He's a kid, you know, trying to figure it out, you know, with visions. And, you know, the church knew he was a superstar or something, you know. But they basically sent him there like, all right, put this kid, for now, we'll leave him there, you know. And he arrived in this little town in the hills, in like the most violent, crazy part of Italy. At the time of the first election, the kids are coming back from World War I. You know, some of them, I mean, I'm retelling the story of the film. I mean, you saw the film. You know, the kids are coming back. Some of them didn't go to the war. Some of them went to Bologna. The Russian Revolution just happened. You know, these guys came back, and some of these kids came back ready to fucking rumble. Well, yeah, I mean, you saw it. This is the movie. I mean, but anyway, this moment where they're ready to rumble, and the other side is saying, hey, yeah, we know what happened in you know, in St. Petersburg. We ain't getting lined up against the wall, dudes. We're coming out swinging, you know. But they're having the election. And you know what happens during elections? You know, elections are great. It's their first election. It's nothing like elections until you lose. Then, you know, whose fucking idea we had an election? You know, like you said, I mean, that's my favorite line of the film. You know, Trotsky ain't worried about elections, bro, you know. You know what I mean? Fidel wasn't thinking about, you know, he wasn't considering an election, you know. But they had the election, and that happened. And 12 from the left side were murdered. Most of them shot in the back, all of them shot in the back, actually, except one. One Carabinieri, they used that as the excuse that the Carabinieri was killed by the left, and they just opened fire. In the same period, this kid has a stigmata. And it was like, are you kidding? You know, it's like, we're doing the research. I said, that fucking happened? You know what I'm saying? It's like you watch a movie like, wow. You know, it's like an event that's, you know, it's like the Strauss-Kahn movie. You know, it's like a guy's going to be the president of France, and now he ends up in Rikers Island because he raped a maid at a hotel. You know, somebody told you that story, you said, come on, nobody's going to believe that. The guy has a stigmata. At the same time, there's like a revolution. You know, the first basic battle of World War I happens. You're bullshitting me. That ain't. You know, that didn't happen. You know, you're kidding me. You know, that's kind of the thing. So that's what this is about. But you've already said.
But you stop exactly the story when he had the stigmas and
Right.
And all after that, you know, something that you were not interested on that, after the stigmas and everything. I think he became, I don't know exactly the story afterwards, but you just what the film is is showing in a way is that you know, these at the same time all the, you know, the social things around, and at the same time this a kind of you know, interior, all this interior you know, strength, and at the same time the interior you know, doubts of these characters, you know, Padre Pio, and at the same time, they don't, in a way, they don't mix one with the other ones. It's really, or only at the end with the stigmas, you understand that this is, in a way, he was completely involved in this story. Do you understand what I said, or?
Yeah, no, I understand what you said, but I don't agree with any of it. No, what I mean is, I don't believe that. You know, from the beginning, it's always, to me, you know, they're laying on me, oh, there's 2 movies, but it's not 2 movies, bro. This is what happened, okay? The monk was in that town. He was a charismatic leader. They're all there in church. They're going to confession. He's hearing the deal. He knows what's going on. You know, as a spiritual leader, PIO, you know, he's not considering the left, and he's not considering the right. You know, he's seeing politics as, at the end game, a negative fucking deal. You know, it's only going to get you away from, you know, his spirituality is God. Is you know, he's a Catholic. You dig? He's down hardcore. Obviously, he's a saint. He buys in 100%. You know, when Christ puts his, you know, he's reaching for that moment when he's going to touch the Christ. You know, and his doubt that if he had the belief, he had the strength. But his, you know, his vision of the future, because he's a smart guy, and you just coming out of World War I, he sees the nightmare that was going to happen. I mean, from 1920 to 1945, 100 million people were killed. What is his fucking answer to this? Is only spiritual. You know, it's not going to be political. You dig? It's only going to happen to make a spiritual leap. I mean, the blood coming out of his hands. I mean, you know, I'm not going to argue whether it did or not. You know, I'm a Buddhist, bro. You dig? At this point, so I don't believe in miracles. Okay, but the dude playing the role, Shia, is a hardcore Catholic. He's a converted Catholic. Okay, so he's believing it. You know, dig? It's not even about a miracle. You know, it's about how do you deal with what's about to happen. You know, you know, this is a microcosm of the world here. You know, as we made this film, it's so modern. You know, I mean, it's. You know, like we dedicated Ukraine. I just came back. We're shooting a documentary there. I mean, it's the same shit. I mean, you're there in Ukraine. It's like a fucking war going on that looks like it's out of a fucking movie, but it's not out of a movie. And people are getting fucking killed, and everybody's, you know, revved up, and everybody wants to fight. My country is gonna what? Give everybody enough guns. You know, they're supporting that fucking war until the last Ukrainian is dead. You know what I mean? The end game is what? Now they're talking nuclear weapons. Okay, the fact 70 years ago, 100 million people got killed. 2 nuclear weapons were dropped, right? I mean, my guys did it. They didn't drop one, they had to drop another one just to, make sure you got the fucking point. Okay, but what is the response to this? I mean, is what? A spiritual response. I mean, as a Buddhist, who's talking anything other peace? The Dalai Lama, who's my guy? Not St. Francis, the Pope, I don't know. Where's the spiritual answer? But that's, what is the response to the nightmare that, is never ending?
Nope. And you made it in an incredible modern way of shooting in the using musics that usual when you do some historical or period movies. They are not, and that's what I think it relates this story to any moment of our story. It's not only what we are counting is not exactly what happens that day, but it reveals what happens every time.
Right.
Can you say something?
Yeah, no. It's like I'm saying. It's like it's not. What happened here is happening right now. So this conflict, on me, I'm not looking at it as any kind of historical drama. It's just too real. And then that's the point. It's not a story. We didn't dream this shit up, bro. This is what happened in that town, and they don't even teach this in Italy, which is even crazier. You don't even fucking hear it. None of every time anybody in Italy hears a story, it's like, wow, I didn't know. They got to Google this shit up and find, wow, 12 people got fucking killed. Yeah, no kidding. And the cops killed them. And this is the game plan. This is the blueprint. What do? You bring the cops in from another town because the cops in town ain't gonna shoot their own guys. You bring them in, and then now you got the boilerplate, how to do it. Next minute, Italy is gone. Totally right. Which is funny. That's a modern thing to say because Italy is now right. It's back. It's a fascist. They voted a fascist crew in there, and my country's not far behind. And the whole, it's the same. It's the same words. The nationalism, the immigration. These are all the same words, man. Like I said, I'm a Buddhist, bro. So, it's like thoughts are powerful, words are more powerful, and the actions come from that. So these guys start talking, they're going to, talk about nuclear, we got this and you got that, and, man, it's scary, bro. It's like, and nobody believes in, the fact that they don't teach this is the fact that you don't understand the history of what? 75 years ago in Europe, 100 million people got killed. That wasn't enough? Like, that just happened. So what's the bigger joke? Oh, the Holocaust didn't happen. It didn't. What's worse? Saying the Holocaust didn't happen, like, these basketball players and these other morons in my country, you have nothing else to Twitter, or not even knowing it happened, which 40% of the people in my country don't even know Auschwitz exists. They don't even know what that fucking word means. So. Okay.
And how you feel in Italy now at these moments?
In Rome?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been living in Europe for like 8 years. So Rome, I keep asking that. In New York, I can't. I don't make enough money to live in New York. That's number one. I really don't. I just couldn't, live the life I've lived in New York. I have to make a lot more money than I make. And, as an independent filmmaker, I don't make very lot, you'd be shocked at how much we make, I'm not crying, you know what I mean? I get I know the deal going in, and I'm fine. And actually, financially, I'm very cool, a lot cooler than a lot of people. But You know, it's, to make the kind of films I make, I can't do in the United States. You know, it's the, it's just the attitude in Europe. And then when I say, because living in Rome is not like living in Italy. It's like, you know, living in New York is not living in the United States. You think? Rome is Rome. Rome isn't even Europe, it's Rome, okay? But I live in Europe because I could come here, I'm close, and there's a vibe in Europe. And the vibe in Europe is that what I do counts, you know, that I'm an artist, I'm a filmmaker, I do that work, and that work is important. You know, like you come driving in here, you go by the Roman aqueduct. It's like, yeah, okay, I get it. You know, these cats came here 2,000 years ago. Hey, you need clean water. You dig? And that aqueduct is still there. And that's why the Roman thing. It's not, I'm not preaching Rome. I'm saying in Europe, there's a history, there's a culture. My country's only 300, 400 years old. So give them 2,500 more years. And I'll go back. No, but so I'm like, I'm supported not just in, you know, in Europe it's more the socialist government thing that helps us as opposed to like independent financing, but it's the life that supports me, you know, that gives me, that what I do matters, you know, what I work, you know, the kind of films I want to make, the kind of films that I love, that, you know, that it counts. And I got to feel that, you know, I got to feel that to do it. So, you know, Europe is very positive for me.
You are one of, you know, you're tragic, and you are one of the few directors that they have this freedom, not freedom, you conquer this freedom and you do exactly what you want and how you want without, you know, with all the problems, everything, but you go on filming and filming and filming and finding the ways of filming. This is anyway, and you don't wait for answers of institutions or things like that, or if you wait, it's not for a long time, because you still, every 1-2 years, you bring something, you know, and that is something that you conquer yourself, but because as well, I would like you to explain a little bit how you can do it.
I mean, it's each one is different. You know, raising money is part of the you know, of the gig. You know, you've got to finance the film, and you know, each one is so different. I mean, with this one, this was almost spiritual. I mean, I don't believe in miracles. I'm a Buddhist. This was a fucking miracle. I mean, because we went for, you know, I mean, we didn't make this for a lot of money. We brought everybody up into this crazy mountain in the middle of nowhere. We were a week before shooting. We had no money, bro. We had nothing. You know, I mean, we had promises from, you know, this institution and that bank and this thing, but this is like, you know, there, down the road. I mean, one of these boys, these guys, his names fly by when they say executive producer. You know, I feel like getting on my knees and kissing the ground. Because, I mean, I made this kid go to an ATM machine. Like, he took out like $150,000. This is like 5 days before we shooting. Shia, he did it all on just pure love. I mean, I didn't know him. We zoomed him up. You know the trouble that kid is in, so we weren't getting no money with him. You know what I mean? But I knew he was the right guy. You know, I zoomed him up, we're talking, and, you know, I just got this instinct with these actors, right? So it's like, this is one of my gifts, and it's like, this is the fucking guy, you know? And he's telling me, I just converted, and I stopped drinking, I stopped drugging, you know, so we're kindred spirits, you know? And it was like, he's the kind of dude, the minute that phone call was over, I mean, there was no agents, no man, nobody talking shit. He don't even know me. I mean, he knows, you know, who I am on a spiritual sense, but he don't know who I am, We just met on Zoom, of all things, He got in his pickup truck and drove 2 hours to a monastery in California. He did, and sat in a parking lot. I mean, they almost called the cops. They didn't know who this fucking freak was, right? And he's telling me he's going to play Padre Pio. I mean, to the Franciscan monks, Padre Pio is the guy. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to be kidding. This kid is going to play Padre Pio. But they put the robes on him. They let him in, man. They let him in, put the robes on him, and he stayed there for like 3 months. And nobody, I mean, it's all out of his pocket. Nobody, I mean, Transformer time, we couldn't touch, we couldn't touch this kid. You dig what I'm saying? But this was the whole film. So this film was like that. And then we got some money. I mean, it's a long, crazy, very, very interesting story about the financing of this movie, but we got it done. I mean, we're going to make what we're going to make. We have Final Cut. I fought for it. I died for it. I bled for it. I had my heart broken to the point where I understood that, because I began filmmaking, always having Final Cut, never thinking it was a big deal, but it is a big deal. And then once I had it, I would never give it up. And, it's part of working in Europe, like I'm talking about. The freedom of the director is like, but, now when we do deals, it's funny, in LA, like it was always the battle for Final Cut, then like a consideration. But now I do deals, these young lawyers in LA, they didn't even know what the fuck it is. Like you tell them, the director has Final Cut, like Final Cut, what the fuck's Final Cut? They're young. I'm talking about young dudes in LA. Like, who gets what Final Cut? Who's that? That's the director. Like, who's the fucking director? All right, what does he want? Oh, he can just get everything. Okay, they're not even against it in theory. You know what I mean? They just never fucking heard of it. So, but to make a film like, it's just you gotta have it. So how we're gonna make the next one, I don't know, man.
No, not when you're going. What? How? When you start.
When we start.
With you is always like that. Not.
I want to do one in your hotel, man, but you don't want to.
Why not?
When? Why not? How much you got? He's the big producer. Okay, make the deal right now. We need more than 150, I'll tell you that.
I've got a broad sort of question.
Good.
Answer it as you will. You've made films in the past, such as Bad Lieutenant, that have this sort of spiritual thread, which is
right.
A very Catholic film. What, in your opinion, is the sort of relationship between spirituality and cinema, and sort of making and viewing it?
The spirituality, I mean, filmmaking is it, it's the art, it's like, we went to the Ukraine and we're doing a documentary and they the question is, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? It's like, hey, what do you want me to do? Come here with a fucking gun and start shooting somebody? It's like, there's death and there's life, and, life is the work, life is giving to other human beings something. For me, I'm a filmmaker. That's what we do. We're sitting here talking. This is everything that's not happening in Putin's mind. In his mind, there's the anti-Putin. Okay, he's going to put this whole thing together, bring the films, bring the filmmakers, bring the people. We're going to express all this. Okay, the making of the film is a sacrament, like he's holding the, you know what I mean? To me, it's a sacrament. It's a sacrament. It doesn't matter what the subject matter could be. This one is specific about Catholicism and the belief, and I mean the hardcore belief in the host, in the ritual, in the confession, in the robes, in the thing. Okay, fine. Bad Lieutenant. I don't know what the fuck that's about. I mean, it's it's certainly not about spirituality, except the art of making it, you dig, or the process of making it, I mean, what makes that film spiritual is Harvey. You know, his belief in the cinema, in the act, you know, in that it is so important, you know, what we do, okay? And even with the violence, you know, for me, you know, I made a lot of violent movies, and you know, I really, at this point in my life, I think, fuck, man, you know, we have to, you know, some of them were like, fucking, you gotta be kidding, you know. We made a hardcore pornographic movie, same thing. Well, why'd we do this? You know, it's like, but I know David Lynch once said, you know, guys, as long as you keep it between the lines, you know, keep the violence on the screen, make it part of the process. There's something about the cinema, the process of, the process. I mean, this is the cinema, right? Watching this movie, you dig? I mean, here now, and then talking about it is that extra special that we're all here to share whatever the fuck we want to think and say is, you know, is a spiritual act. Because the other side is rolling in with a tank and blowing this fucking place up. You know, because that's what we were in Ukraine shooting. It was one of the best scenes. The priest was there, young dude. He looked like Shia. He comes out of the church, and the Russians are just rolling up. This is like in a residential suburban neighborhood. And like, he comes out, we got this on an interview. He comes out and he's saying, hey dudes, come on, you know, guys, we're all believing the same, you know, we're all, you know, Russian Orthodox. You know, and he just turned that fucking tank around and blew this fucking church right up. I mean, blew half of it away. You dig what I mean? So, you know, I mean, it's just cut and dry, bro. You're living for life or you're living for death. You know what I mean? So, I mean, cinema is on the side of life, right?
Hi, Abel.
Hi.
Are you a very religious man?
Yeah, I'm a Buddhist, you know, I'm a practicing Buddhist. So, I mean, religious means what? You know, I mean, I'm practicing, you know what I mean? You know, I was raised a Roman Catholic, you know, and then at a certain point, I made a film about Mary Magdalene. We went to Jerusalem, and I had a real moment, because like I stood where he was crucified. You dig? I don't know what lapsed Catholic means, but, you know, I was far from the church, okay? In my actions, you know, part of the deal was I was an alcoholic and a drug addict, which does not help your spirituality at all, okay? So, but I'm fucking high as shit in Jerusalem, making a movie, fucked up on dope, but I'm standing where he was crucified. And when you stand where he was crucified, all around is like, they're selling sweatshirts and t-shirts, right? Because the Arabs don't give a shit. And the Jews don't give a shit, because nobody believes in Jesus but us, right? These guys, you know, Jesus is not a player there. So they're selling cassettes, and, you know, it's like a crazy place where they have the Stations of the Cross. It's like a Disneyland, but I'm feeling it. And Jerusalem, I don't know if you guys ever been there, but you should go. This place is like, whoa. It's one of these places, like, I'm feeling it. But I'm still a drug addict and an alcoholic. You dig? But now I'm starting to feel a connection to Jesus as, like, the rebel, like Jesus as the, like, you know, the Jews in their battle against the Romans, you know, like the fight for freedom. You know, what's happening in Ukraine. I mean, what's really happening? People want freedom, and other people don't want to give it to you, okay? You want to talk about Final Cut, it's always the same battle. You know, you're born free, it's a war to stay free, okay? And I'm feeling it, but I'm not free, okay? So then 10 years ago, I kicked. And when I finally stopped after using, I mean, I don't want to talk about myself so much, but, you know, after using since I was 16 till 61 years old, you know, on a daily basis, thinking as a filmmaker, I gotta be high, you know, all my, you know, Billie Holiday is high, Burroughs is high, right? Keith is high. Those are the artists, right? Those are the great, you know, I'd be like Sam Peckinpah. I gotta be crazier than Sam Peckinpah. We can't be crazier than Sam Peckinpah. But I gotta be like Sam Peckinpah. I gotta be like Fassbinder. I gotta be like them. I gotta get high, fucking, you know. But I was a slave, you know, I was not. But then I stopped. And now the Buddhism, which I was a Buddhist for 5 years before, but you cannot be a Buddhist doing drugs and thinking you're meditating. You know what I mean? You can't drink, you know, but I did. Like, I thought, I'd go to these big retreats, and I had these great teachers. You know, the Dalai Lama's buddy was my teacher, and I'm getting high in front of, you know, I'm like meditating with the dude, and I'm fucked up on drugs. I mean, the guy knew it, but he, you know, he didn't, they figure you come around eventually, you know. But anyway, but at that moment, so I had, you know, I didn't have a white light experience, but I had experience when I meditated the first time when I was, you know, when you get sober, you have to like take 40 days to detox from the drugs and alcohol, you know. That's why so a lot of these people, they think they get, you know, they never actually do it. But it's 40 days after you stop ingesting the drugs or the alcohol. Like Jesus in the desert, 40 is the magic number. And you know when you're sober because you go to sleep. Okay, can you imagine this? Like, I actually went to sleep at night, like a normal human being. You know, like all the animals go to sleep, you lay down and you go to sleep, as opposed to passing out. And then you wake up, and I was in a rehab on a farm, and like, you know, I heard the roosters crowing. I woke up after not sleeping for 40 days. When you kick fucking drugs, bro, and alcohol. I had kicked alcohol. This was just pure drugs. 40 days not sleeping 5 minutes. Okay, it's like, that's a long fucking stretch in the desert. Okay, the burning bush, the whole deal. And then I woke up and I felt so fucking good. I thought there was something wrong with me. Like I felt like the way I feel every day for 10 years, you dig? And then I meditated, and then it was like, forget it. You know, so, you know, am I a religious person? I'm a Buddhist. I'm a practicing Buddhist, basically. And I'm, you know, and I'm in recovery, and I'm trying. And, you know, at the same time, my addiction is my addiction, which is deeper than the drugs and the alcohol. You know, so do I have it in me to fucking kill somebody in like this over nothing? Maybe. You know what I mean? Scary. It's scary. My anger sometimes is scary. Am I a scumbag on a set? Am I still, you know, can't understand my, you know, the job I do, like as a director? And, you know, I'm like a screamer. I'm fucking bullying people. Yeah, I'm really be a bad guy, you know. But I now can stop and say, and hear myself screaming, you know, and say, who's this fucking asshole? You know, who's this jerk screaming like this for no reason at all? You dig? And that I never had, you know. So it's like a process. So when I see Padre Pio, why am I doing Padre Pio? Because now we're embracing Padre Pio. Pasolini, the research on Pasolini, no one. We met 75 people interviewed. We interviewed not the guys that killed him. Pelosi, I don't think killed him, but he was there when he got killed. Those guys, they all loved him. They all thought he was the coolest guy. He never raised his voice. He never got angry. He was nicest to the nicest people. This Pasolini, he's the guy who made Cello. Okay, so that's what I see. I see Dalai Lama. Here's a guy, you want to be so like I'm saying, man, I'm so fucking stressed, I gotta drink this. I mean, this dude is the head of a fucking religion. The dude's the head of a fucking country. The guy never gets upset. Nothing can upset this dude. He's just chill. So that's what I want. You know, that's like, you know, so that's what I'm practicing for. But I'm like, you know, it's going to take many lifetimes with me. You know, I'm just kidding.
Two questions, or not questions, two. For you, this Pasolini was a saint as well.
Yeah, no, Pasolini was a big teacher.
And it's what is the difference between this Pasolini saint and Padre Pio saint? First,
I mean, to me, it's a parallel. There's, they're lions, bro. These are like Pasolini, the writing of Pasolini, the PIO. I mean, the letters, you got to read them. They're published, man. They're out there. It's fucking like Baudelaire. The compassion. I'm not going to get into like, did he make people walk? Did he built a hospital in this town. He built a $35 million hospital, okay? Rode into town on a fucking donkey without 2 cents in his pocket in a place that had no medicine. Just the idea he wanted to do it, that's the compassion. Padre Pio, he was the great confessor. Here, okay, he's doing the confession, and we did it kind of in the places where they did it, but still, the light's coming through the window, I mean, in reality, they're wearing these fucking robes. This is the hottest fucking place in the world. It's like being in the Sahara Desert. It's 100 fucking degrees. You're fucking in a room listening to, the tomatoes don't grow, my daughter can't have children, my husband fucks somebody else, my wife fucks somebody else, blah, 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 blah. I got this on my neck, I got my foot hurts, my ass hurts, but, all day long. And he's there listening. It's when you say there's no division. He's hearing all those guys coming back. The confessions we could have put in there, that they were guys who were thinking they were going to kill people, who wanted to kill people, who wanted to deny the church as a communist, whatever. He's hearing it. And every single person who he connected to, hey, man, they walked away enlightened. They walked away with something that he gave them as compassion, never mind his brilliance, his, you know what I mean? On a real level, Pasolini was the same way. He was the nicest to the cats that you interview now that were just assistants, kids, gophers. He was so cool to these kids. You know what I mean? And, it's like, on top of, I've seen, I've been turned on by so many fucking great directors. I can't even, the list is a million miles, and some of them in the room, okay? And they're mile long, okay? But this cat, he was a journalist, he was a poet, he was a communist, but an activist, man. You know what I mean? And they're both Italian, which is pretty funny. And that's why I live in Italy. Yeah, this is the original version, okay? Because I have this radical idea. I take the Italian kids who could speak English. That's pretty funky English, I know, okay? But I live in Europe, so I hear the craziest English you ever imagined, okay? And I'm used to crazy English, and I love crazy English, you dig? And I love when people use words sometimes. It's like, when when your telephone starts writing itself, and it writes like the funniest shit, sometimes writes the most brilliant stuff. It's like, wow. You know what I mean? It's like, sometimes it's like the old priest. This is the guy, bro. This is the monk. This is the monk's monk. He's talking. I didn't even know the fucking guy could speak English. We're just going to shoot him and get his mouth moving. And he starts now just fucking going off on war and Italy. And we know what the fuck he's saying. You know what I mean? But you can't match that, bro. We could have Duval wanted to come in, not Duval, Duval to come in and, no, John Voight, I'm sorry. Voight, a friend of Shia, was going to revoice it. Somebody else would have done it. I could have got Willem to do. I don't want to get American actors to do this. You dig it? You dig? Because I'm buying it. And I buy the set, like the process. I'm not buying into, now we're going to have all this in perfect English. Like, what, you gotta be kidding me. They won't, you know what I mean? They didn't speak perfect Italian there. This was all in dialect, I live in that world. I buy that English. And I love the kids trying to do it. I buy their soul. And it's hand language, it's a body language. I could have brought it, well, this film, we didn't have money to bring a bunch of Americans, but I'm not gonna bring a bunch of fucking English-speaking actors to fucking pull you. That's fucking moronic. But I know, it flies. But now when we did the dub in Italian, these kids now got a chance to take a shot at all this fucking acting in their own language. Okay? So you dig? So now we did the film, they did it. Now they got it. Then they saw the film. They've all seen the film 4 or 5 times in settings like this. So now they know they're fucking shit. Now they go in there and they start. I'm not big in the dubbing room at all. I don't even go. I don't buy the process. You know what I mean? I know Brando says, I want to dub, I want to improve my performance. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I want to, you know, I'm out there, we're killing for it. That's what it's jazz, bro. That's what you got, and that's what you live with. You know, and you got to make that work. And it just doesn't make it better for me, ever. But this time, yeah, because these kids are going to dub it. No Italian is going to read a movie. Nobody in Italy is going to read subtitles. No way. They want to hear that shit. And I don't blame them, because, you know, you got to be looking down and reading it, looking up, looking, you know. It's a tough process.
Hi. Hi. I would like to know, when you're working on your movies, would you consider that you use some kind of chronological, linear chronological order to start working on them? Or do you have, like, for example, visions of scenes in the middle of the movie or the final scene, or things that are not in a chronological, linear way?
Linear meaning what? Do we shoot in linear? What do you mean?
From the process that you start working on the movies,
start
that
shooting
if you work, like, if you think there's like the beginning, the middle, or you just, it keeps coming to you and you're working with whatever comes to you?
No, we don't wing it like that. I wish we did, but we don't. That's like kind of a dream. Just go out there and say, let's just go for it. That would be a big dream of mine. No, this script we worked on it. We worked on it, but Barucci is the guy who wrote Pasolini at the time, so it was written in Italian. Okay, so we worked on it, we researched it, we got down to what we wanted, we wrote it. Nobody wanted to make it, okay? Because Padre Pio is like, just, there's like something about him, you know, in Italy. And they're not going to let an American, same thing with Pasolini. We got the money from France, you know. Like, no one touches Pasolini, no one's going to touch this guy, and ain't let Americans fucking deal with these guys. They're like, they're heroes, you know. They're bigger than that. Pio, I don't know what he means in this country, but in Italy, he's a saint. He's like, he's beyond the beyond. He's like the new Christ, you know. So we had the script, we didn't get it made, we went back and wrote it again. Then we went again, you know what I mean? Like, this was, we don't do that. I don't, very seldom do it, but this time we did it, you know. And then we got to where we wanted with it, and then we did, I do like every morning, because now when I make a movie, I'm actually could get up in the morning with a clear mind, even as early as you got to get up to make a movie. I could get up 2 hours earlier than that, because I'm not partying all fucking night long from the night before, celebrating how brilliant I was on the set the day before, you know. So I would write it in English that morning, whatever we were gonna shoot, because you couldn't really jam with this like that, because no one spoke English. These kids were like fighting to get the language right, you know. I mean, it's a testament to these kids that they're acting another language anyway. So then, with Shia is different. We could rock and roll a little bit with him. You know what I mean? Some of these scenes, a couple of those scenes we just pulled out. You know, when he was talking with the other priest outside, he was jamming there. But otherwise, there's a lot less of that in this film.
Sorry. I have a totally different question. Could you just say, like, in 1 or 2 sentences, what the figure of Christ means to you? Just shortly.
For me, it's like I said, I feel like Christ is a living man, you know. As a Buddhist, I don't believe, the teaching is there is no beginning, there is no non-beginning, okay? That's the teaching. So they're not talking about a creation. Therefore, they're not talking about a creator. Okay? That's my practice. And I'm totally into everybody else's practice. And for the Dalai Lama, my Buddhist teachers, when they talked about to me, like in people like me, what they say to people like me is, why don't you stick to your own religion, bro? Because everything you're looking for in Buddhism, you've got in Catholicism, if you practice the right way. Okay? You dig? But I already got the shit beat out of me enough by nuns. As much as I love them all in retrospect, I had enough. You know what I mean? I don't want to. I focus on the practice, my Buddhist practice, and I feel closer to Jesus in my practice. My feeling of Jesus, the Sermon on the Mount, that's a Buddhist track. You know, do unto others, giving compassion. That's the message. You know, that's my feeling toward Jesus Christ. I feel he existed. I felt him. Okay, I can't prove it. No one's asking me to prove it. I felt him. You know what I mean? But what I felt is a compassionate, giving human being where PIO is here. You dig? What's going to be the answer to fucking groups of people who are looking to fucking kill each other? It is not a political answer. You dig? You're not going to come up with a political answer here. You got to find a spiritual change. And that's what the teaching is. And that's what he represents. I mean, him on the cross, I mean, we're saying it right here. I mean, I'm buying everything these guys are saying. I mean, him on the cross, that's the sacrifice. The sacrifice for other human beings. The giving of yourself, not the ego. That's how I feel. Does that answer the question? Oh, okay.
Hi, Abel. Here. Hi. I was going to ask you why you're a Buddhist, if you could find, in fact, what you're looking for in Catholicism, but you did answer that question. I was wondering why you chose such a radical character as PIO. I can tell you right now that he's not that popular in Portugal.
Because why?
Well, because we have other saints, I guess. I mean, Our Lady of Fatima, I don't know.
No, but why isn't PIO? What do you got against this poor
No,
guy?
there's nothing against him. It's just that he's a big deal in Italy, but not so much in Portugal.
Right, I get you.
But we have other saints that we venerate more, I guess.
Right.
But and I'm saying we, and I'm not speaking for everyone in this room, obviously. So I wanted to ask you why you chose such a radical figure. Also because Shia, everyone's heard of his story and the conversions and all that. And he was a really radical guy before, so I mean, is this just not another form of radicality? And also I wanted to ask Paulo what he thought of the movie.
How, what?
What I thought?
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody's interested in what I think.
Oh, I think we are.
And I don't want to say. Thank you.
Why did I choose we talking about Shia or Padre Pio?
I was wondering why you chose Pio, and also, I'm sorry, I was wondering why you chose Pio of all the saints, which are hundreds of them, and also why, well...
Yeah, but I'm not interested in Padre Pio as a saint. I don't believe in any of that.
You're
okay?
interested
I don't
in
buy
human
even
being.
making somebody a saint. We're taking Pio as a man in conflict, okay? That's the film I want to make, okay? And I had the access to his words, okay? You dig? So I don't have to guess. You know, with Pasolini, I don't have to make it up. I don't have to think it. He's writing it. He's telling you, here's where I'm at. And that film reflected that. This film is reflected. This is where he's at. You know, we didn't go back in time 500,000 years. I mean, you know what I mean? I'm not working off skeletons, bro. There's people who fucking knew him. I mean, we were in the rooms he was in. You dig? These are the clothes the person wore. You dig? It's like, no, it's not. It's you know, nothing about it is radical to me. You know, he doesn't seem like a radical person. And for me, Shia, I didn't know him. I didn't know that Shia. You dig? I only knew the kid who had stopped drinking, stopped drugging, found, as a Jew, found a conversion in Christ, okay, and was practicing it, and was finding it at the moment where he was. Because when he shows up here, this kid never left his mother's house. PIO never left his freaking mother's house. The only person was an ordained priest. They take you for 6 years and away from your mother. You know, these Italian kids don't want to leave their mothers, bro. And this kid conned his way into getting to be an ordained priest, never leaving his mother's house until they says, hey, dude, get on that fucking horse and go to fuck nowhere. You know, like you got to get the fuck out of your house. And now, really, think about it. This kid coming from where he came from in Napoli, in this beautiful Campania, to this fucking hellhole in the middle of nowhere, you know, it's a scary place, man, okay, for a kid like that. And he's leaving home. He's questioning if he even has the belief. And this is all in these letters, man. He wasn't a saint. He was so far from a saint. He was a sinner, you know. He thought of himself, you know. So his moment to the stigmata, his moment to his conversion to Christ, you know, is with the move. I'm not dealing with no saint because I don't believe in it. You know, I don't believe in Lady of Fatima. I don't believe in any of that. And I mean, and I have nothing against everybody who does, and I understand how they believed in this. And you know, okay, we're just taking a stigmata. How we can? I don't want to get into all of that because it's not important to me. What's important is he built that hospital. He's on his knees listening to every motherfucker in Puglia, and people came from all over the world. Okay, they all believed he could make cripples walk. They all believed he could do all this shit. Okay, fine, let them believe it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to question anybody's belief in what they think or could happen. You know, but I'm not concerned with that. You know, he's living in the real world. He's living in the world, but those 12 people got shot. Okay? That's for real. That ain't fake news. That happened. 13. The Carbonieri got it too. Okay? So, all right.
Okay, I think it's...
Hey.
Okay.
Just one last question.
One last question.
On a lighter note.
Better be good.
Yeah, lighter note.
The light
I
goes.
just can't believe we have Abel Ferrara and David Cronenberg on the same
Yo,
theater.
David Cronenberg. And Karen. Where's Karen? Where's my editor? Yeah, I want to thank, we have one of the editors in the house, Karen, stand up. She also sang that song, the beautiful song from The Shining. And that's David Cronenberg.
Okay. Thank you very much. See you.